listening to Give God 90, where we're not afraid of the tough biblical questions, because we will dig through the language, the culture, and the history to find the truth revealed in the words of our Creator.
Happy Monday, everyone. Hope yours is as good as ours is. I don't know. It's starting out okay.
So far, so good.
Day's not over yet. Thank you for letting us spend some time with you today. I hope it will be worthwhile. Things are still busy here for some strange reason. I don't know why.
It's summer.
It's summer. What happened to the lazy days of summer?
We were little children back then.
Oh, my. Anyway, if you haven't been to GiveGod90.com lately, you might want to check that out. All kinds of good stuff there. Another website you can visit is author Jerry Mitchell, all one word, .com. So that's out there available for you as well. Advertisings are done, I hope. Well, if they go to authorjerrymitchell.com, they'll see the books.
Okay.
Y'all ought to be glad we're not on video this morning. Just be thankful. Be very, very thankful. I know every time I think about doing another video, I was like, I don't want to keep dressed up on Monday morning. Anyway. Yeah, we do have fun here too, I hope. I'm going to look at something today that a lot of people are chasing for some reason. Fame and fortune. Well, you can chase it, I guess. There is a quote by William Shakespeare who, he writes a lot of famous stuff, right? Everybody studies him. And I'm pretty sure that when he was writing his plays, he never really expected to have any of his plays studied in American English classes. He was just trying to make a living, right? That's what he was doing. One of the most misquoted of Shakespeare's quotes comes from the Twelfth Night. Act 2, Scene 5, I think. But don't quote me on that. You're going to have to look it up. The quote is, "Some are born great, some achieve greatness, and some have greatness thrust upon them." Now, the context of this is it was part of a joke played on Malvolio, who was a very pompous steward in Olivia's home. If you're not familiar with the play, you probably won't know who those people are. So that's okay. Typically what you hear is some men are born great, some achieve greatness, and some have greatness thrust upon them. It's very good. Close, still a misquote, not that big a deal. But this quote is very, very accurate when we look at mankind. Think back through history. Noah really wasn't born great, but he had greatness thrust upon him through his righteousness and his obedience, right? He was found righteous in the eyes of the Creator. He was obedient. God said, "No, I need you to build a great big boat." He said, "Okay. Don't know why I'm doing this, but okay." And he went through a period of time where he and his family built this boat, this ark, and the rest is history. Look at Abraham. Now, Abraham was not wealthy. There's nothing to indicate that he was wealthy in his younger years. Nothing to indicate that he was famous in his younger years. he walked out of the land of his father. He followed the Almighty's word. He wasn't born great, but with the help of the Almighty, he did achieve greatness. Look at his descendants today. One of Abraham's descendants, Joseph. He certainly wasn't born great, although his father was very proud of him. We could probably say he didn't feel very great when his brothers sold him into slavery. He didn't feel very great when Potiphar had him put in jail. You know, he probably wasn't thinking about how great and wonderful he was while he was sitting in jail. But through his obedience to the Almighty, he achieved something no one else had ever done. He was second in command only to Pharaoh in Egypt. He certainly had greatness thrust upon him, right? As we look at these people, we have to stop and think, were they anybody special? Were they anybody different than any of us? Well, there is one thing that set them apart, and that is their obedience. Look at Moses. You know, he grew up in Pharaoh's palace, of course. So a lot of people knew about him. They knew kind of who he was. But he wasn't really famous the way we think about famous people today. Moses is described as good or perfect if you look at the Hebrew when he was born. But most English Bibles translate that as beautiful for some strange reason. So he may have been born perfect, but it doesn't mean he was born great, right? Especially, you know, in that time, if you were a male baby to a slave in Egypt, what was supposed to happen to you? You were supposed to be killed. But that didn't happen. Growing up in the palace didn't make him great. Killing an Egyptian taskmaster for beating a Hebrew slave certainly didn't make him great. In fact, it led Moses to leave that wealth that he was kind of used to behind him. And he ran away to Midian. If you look at Exodus chapter 3, we see that Moses tried to reject greatness. The Almighty had said, no, you're the one. I have something planned for you. Moses didn't want it, but he finally conceded. And of course, the rest of that is history as well. Now, for Christians to say that Yeshua Jesus was born great is probably an overstatement. If you follow the biblical narrative, we know that he was born in a sukkah, in a booth during the Feast of Tabernacles, during Sukkot. All of the family that should have been able to assist had basically told Mary, no, you can't stay here. You can't stay here. That's why she was out with Joseph. He was born into a world where his extended family probably thought of him as an illegitimate child. Now, the biblical narrative reads that there were only a small group of shepherds that were visited by a divine being, and they were told, go check this out. That's the modern way of Luke saying Luke 2, right? The thing is, the heavens declared the glory of God through the alignment of the stars. The Chaldean astronomers recognized the signs, and they set out in search of the child. Now, as we look at Yeshua's life through the years, did he consider himself great? Absolutely not. Luke 18, a young ruler says, good teacher, what do I need to do to inherit eternal life? And what was his response? Why are you calling me good? Why are you calling me good? Now, he had gained some fame as a healer and a righteous person, of course, and someone, they recognized him as not being afraid to take on the Pharisees. And by this time, he had a lot of people who were following his teachings and a lot of people who were seeking help from him, whether they wanted to be fed or just wanted healing. So he actually had achieved some greatness by that point. But ask yourself this question. How great do you think he felt while he was being nailed to either the cross or the stake, whatever it might have been? How great did he feel as he was slowly dying in front of everyone? Did the disciples think he was still great as they watched him die, as they watched him be buried? You realize that today people have a very, very disproportionate concept of greatness. Today we think someone, they make it to the top and they're great. Someone famous must be rich and have a lot of money, right? Today, thanks to social media, thousands of people are trying to make their social media channels famous so they can be famous for pretending to be something they're not. Even our youngest granddaughter, she gets on TikTok and puts on her makeup, and like 4 people watch. I'm not one of them. But her little group of friends, that's their thing. There are a few people on social media who use their channels to actually give the most accurate information they can. Hopefully I'm one of them. The Weatherman Plus on social media is one that we watch almost every day because his knowledge of the weather is far better than a lot of people. And he's usually far more accurate than anyone else. Off Grid with Doug and Stacy use their channel to help people be more self-sufficient and live a healthy lifestyle. That's the kind of thing that do they have a lot of followers? Some. Are they rich and famous? No. Another one I like because I like to do my own mechanic work is Chicanic. I can't think of the lady's name. She's a female mechanic, works on small engines, does small engine repairs. And she's just out there putting out the most accurate information to help people she can. And there's others. There's a lot of others. But these are all exceptions to the rule. If you've watched any of the social media stuff, you know what's out there. You know what people are doing. Most social media is filled with people doing ridiculous, ludicrous stuff and expecting and hoping their latest video to go viral so they can be rich and famous. They want to cash in on this sort of frenzy that's going on, right? But what does the Bible tell us about attempting to achieve greatness on our own? Well, let's look at a few verses.
Being respected is more important than having great riches. To be well thought of is better than owning silver or gold. Proverbs 22, verse 1. It is not good to eat much honey, nor is it glorious to seek one's own glory. Proverbs 25:27. Stop regarding man, in whose nostrils is breath, for of what account is he? Isaiah chapter 2, verse 22. The Nephilim were on the earth in those days, and also afterward, when the Son of Man came in to the daughters of men, and they bore children to them. Those were the mighty men who were old men of renown. Genesis chapter 6, verse 4.
Now, the last verse she read, a lot of people get hung up and caught up on who or what the Nephilim are. But there's a very important word, and we need to be more focused on it. The word is renowned. Now, Noah Webster's 1828 dictionary, American Dictionary of the English Language, defines renown as fame, celebrity, exalted reputation. Yeah, they were famous. They were the celebrities of that time. They were the people who were influencing others, usually in the wrong direction. It's used in a very negative context here. The Bible places elevating another person, no matter who they are or what they've done, in a negative context, especially when we attempt to achieve fame and fortune in our own way, on our own. Now, if you ask any publicist, they're going to tell you that even bad publicity is still publicity. So let's look at that in some real context. If you watch the news or read the tabloids, what do we see? Most of the time it's filled with famous people living in such a way as to get their name on the front page of a magazine or a newspaper, be mentioned in articles and on TV and on social media. They want people to talk about them no matter what they're doing. Years ago, Elizabeth Taylor was famously remembered for what? Her acting? Well, some people may remember her for her acting, but most people will remember her because she was married and divorced. Often. Do you think that she was doing that because she was falling in and out of love all the time? She was using her fans to, either, oh, look, she's marrying this celebrity this week. Oh, isn't it terrible? She's getting divorced. She is playing on the emotion. She was playing on the emotions of her fans. We see it today all over the place. Just look at the life and times of Taylor Swift. Another one. You can rarely look at a national or world newspaper without seeing something about Kanye West. Now, what's he famous for today? Is he famous for anything that he has actually done recently? Or is he famous because his wife dresses, or maybe I should say doesn't dress, a certain way when she's out in public? Attempting to become rich and famous by our own desire has consequences. Maybe you've heard familiar for the phrase, a deal with the devil. Maybe you've heard the term crossroad demon, who is a demon that is summoned at a crossroads where he will buy your soul in return for fame and fortune. There's a legend of a very famous blues singer who made such a deal, and that legend is told in various ways. But apparently he wanted to learn to play the guitar very, very well. And try as he might, he just couldn't get there. But he was standing at the crossroads when a demon offered to buy his soul in return for fame and fortune. That's the Cliff Notes version of that legend. Some of you might be thinking, well, aren't you doing the same thing? And I understand that concern. The difference is I try to give you accurate information without bringing glory to myself. Everything I hope you are hearing me say is not just based in the scripture, but you can actually go find it. Because, you know, how many times do we read Bible verses? How many times do we quote scripture here? Yeah, I've got some books available. But I don't make a habit of being in the spotlight no matter what. You know, I'll admit I'm human, right? I advertise. But I advertise the product, not the person. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
And recently I had a conversation with a publisher. And what I said was, you know, anybody who has the ability can write the greatest book in the world, but if you don't advertise it and nobody knows it's available and nobody knows that they should be reading it, what good is it? But at the same time, somebody could write the absolute worst book in the world, advertise it and market it properly, and everybody's going to buy it and think, why did I do this? Why did I spend time on this? You know, have you ever have you ever gone to a movie or watched a television show because you've seen the advertisements, you've seen the trailers, and then at the end of the movie you're like, man, the trailer was better than the movie. Or at the end of the TV show you're like, well, the advertisement was sure better than the whole show. You see the difference? Do you see the difference? Chasing fame and fortune for your own glory is vanity. And vanity is something that is absolutely empty, useless, worthless. Using the gifts that the Creator has placed in your spirit to benefit the people around you, that's what leads you to greatness. Abraham became wealthy, but he really wasn't that well known. People knew about him around the area that he lived. Moses gave up a lot of wealth, and he became very, very famous. People heard about Moses a long way off, and we've been talking about him for close to 4,000 years. So why chase after something that the Creator says is useless? We don't need to glorify ourselves for fame and fortune. Instead, if we glorify the Almighty by living the best, by being the best you can be and living the way you're designed to live, that's what creates greatness. And don't stand in a crossroad and wish for fame and fortune, because nothing good can come from that. If you really want to be known for something great, being respected is more important than having riches. To be well thought of is better than owning gold and silver. Doing something that brings you respect and honor and glorifies the Creator at the same time, it's going to achieve that. Because what it all comes down to are the words that you hear on Judgment Day. And hopefully you're looking forward to hearing, well done. You certainly don't want to hear, who are you and why are you still standing in front of me? When it comes to being great, there's only one person, one entity that I know of in all of the known or even unknown universe who will accept bad publicity and still come out on top. And that is the Almighty. Millions, or probably by now billions, well, if you go throughout history, trillions of believers and followers worshipped the Almighty and brought him honor and glory. That's good publicity. But think about especially the secular scientists today who say, oh, it's just a fairy tale. Well, even that bad publicity raises people's curiosity. Even that, I don't have to prove God. I had somebody comment, oh, here's somebody else trying to prove God. Well, I don't have to prove God. You've already done it. How many atheists out there look at Humpty Dumpty and say, oh, it's just a fairy tale, when we know these fairy tales are based on legends of other people or other beings, other things? The Cinderella is actually based on a person. Hansel and Gretel are based on people. So when the atheists say, oh, the Bible's just a fairy tale, well, why do you spend so much time, energy, and money trying to disprove the Bible? And for the secular scientists out there, time, money, and energy trying to disprove creation when all you do every time is prove creation. You see, the Almighty can take, let me start over. The Almighty, because of his righteousness and because of his glory and honor, can take that negative publicity and turn it against you. Dinosaurs died 65 million years ago. And God laughs and says, watch this. And somebody finds red blood cells in a fossil. Somebody finds collagen in a fossil. And we know that collagen and red blood cells can't survive 65 million years. In the perfect environment, they estimate they can only last about 100,000 years. And let's face it, laying in the dirt is not the perfect environment, right? Our Creator is the only one who will take that bad publicity, who will take that negative context in all his glory and all his righteousness and turn it around and say, watch this. If you're familiar with any of the modern social media commercials, he's kind of like sitting up there going, here, hold my beer, right? Watch this, because I can take this and turn it around. People can't. I don't care who you are. Think about all the TV evangelists that people looked up to for years and what happened to some of them. Scandal? Divorce? Did it keep their name on the front page? Yeah, for a few minutes. But of all the books that were ever published, of all the tales that were ever told, the longest lasting happens to be the Bible. Because our Creator can take even bad publicity and use it for his glory. People can't. Some people may be born great. I don't know too many. Oops. Some people achieve greatness. Some people think they achieve greatness. But the ones who will be remembered the longest, they're the ones that the Almighty chooses to anoint with greatness. They have greatness thrust upon them. Don't worry about your social media accounts. Don't worry about how people think about how wonderful and great you are for doing something silly. Having a good name, having people know who you are simply for being the best you can be, that is what makes you great. So, until
Thursday,
we do wish you many, many blessings, everyone.
Yes, we do.